Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, the 11th of April. We're going to be going over the playing tournament in the NBA and some of the MLB games for today. Last time we recorded, which was on Friday, we had a terrible run with our picks. Our first losing day since we started posting them on here. So let's get back to it today and hope for a better day. First, we're going to recap how the play-in tournament looks in the NBA and what the seeding looks like. So let's start off with the West. So we've got the Pelicans against the Spurs in New Orleans. There, tough game that is because both are playing pretty well as of late. And then they will play the winner of the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Clippers, which, again, Timberwolves have looked great since the All-Star break, but last 5 or 6 games, they seem to have slipped off a bit, maybe taken their foot off the pedal a little bit, which could cost them because they're no longer in that groove. And the Clippers obviously getting Paul George and Powell back. They're looking pretty deadly. So you would think the Clippers are going to win that. Honestly, the Pelicans and Spurs, I'm not quite sure who will take that one. But so I would like to say the Grizzlies would play the Clippers, and the Suns, really have no idea who's going to take that. But honestly, I wouldn't say it matters too much because I see the Suns winning whoever they face out of those 3. Clippers, definitely going to be a tough one for the Grizzlies, especially their style of play. They're going to try and slow the game down on them. And then you've got the other matchups, 4th versus 5th. You've got the Mavericks versus the Jazz. The way the Jazz have been playing lately, they don't look too good. And then you've got the Warriors versus the Nuggets. Obviously, big part of that is Steph Curry being back. Without him, it's going to be tough. And then you see if the Nuggets are going to have any chance of getting Murray or Porter back, because they're going to need them. But looking at this offhand, I mean, you got to think the Suns are going to get to the finals of the West. And I think if the Clippers get through the Grizzlies, they might meet them in the West. I think that's the only thing for me stopping them. I think Clippers could beat the rest of them to get to their Western final. Let's have a look at the East quickly. So we've got Atlanta against Charlotte for the first playing game. Another one, kind of like the Pelicans and the Spurs. This game can really go either way. I mean, you can say that by the record is exactly the same. And then you got the Nets versus the Cavs, and you expect the Nets to come out of that one, which is, could say, genius from the Bucks to finish 3rd right at the end of the season, so they don't have to match up against the Nets in the first round. Take some confidence, and hopefully they get a bit of a beating from Boston, or even if they beat Boston, that they, go to a game 7 in that series, where you'd assume the Bucks wouldn't have to take this past game 5. I would like to think they'd win it 4-0 that series against the Bulls, but I just don't think Vucevic or anyone in the side is enough to take Giannis and cover that man. 76ers Raptors. I said this is the matchup the Raptors would have liked out of all the top 4 teams in the first round. They can definitely play against them. I could see Siakam taking it personal with Joel Embiid, so that will be, for me, one of the best series in the first round, I would say. To watch, I think it's going to be the most competitive series. And then with the Heat, I mean, I think if the Hawks play the Heat, they have a decent chance against them. But overall, I see the Eastern Conference Final being the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's our prediction as far as what that's going to look like. Tomorrow we're going to have a more in-depth look into the playing games that are playing tomorrow. As far as today goes, there's only one game in the NHL, which is the Canadiens versus the Jets. Don't like that game at all. So we are going to be looking at the MLB. As you can see behind us, the first game has kicked off in the Cleveland Guardians versus the Kansas City Royals. We didn't touch that one at all. We've got a game starting in a minute, which is the Orioles versus the Brewers. The Brewers started very lackluster in their first series against the Cubs. Couldn't really get any offense going. Couldn't get really any batting going. Yelich still didn't look like the player he was 3 years ago. Orioles do have a much better hitting lineup this year, so this should be a good game. Hauser is the pitcher for the Brewers, and I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a relief pitcher. Zimmerman's the pitcher for the Orioles. He's not a bad pitcher. And then we go to the Rangers versus the Rockies game. Taylor Hearn is the pitcher, left-handed pitcher for the Rangers, and also a left-handed pitcher for the Rockies in Austin Gomber. I mean, Rockies wouldn't be that mad about how they started, playing the Dodgers in the first series and winning 2 of them, so they'll be happy with how their start went. The Rangers also one of those teams that have a decent lineup. I mean, when you got Corey Seager in your lineup, can't be that bad. I do like Mitch Garver as well, coming over from the Twins. So this is a interesting game. Rangers are favorites in that one. Not a huge fan of Austin Gomber as a pitcher for the Rockies. And then you got the Red Sox at Detroit Tigers. Matt Manning pitching for the Tigers. Michael Wacha, ex-Cardinals pitcher, pitching over there at the Red Sox. Again, the Tigers lineup. I mean, some of these lesser teams, shall we say, last season are really looking stacked. It's looking pretty even overall in MLB, as far as any team could be any team on any given day. Javier Baez over there, Candelario. They still got Miguel Cabrera. Grossman is a great hitter. I mean, you got Akil Baddoo in ninth as hitting. You know, you've got somewhat decent hitters. He had a good run at the end of his season. Red Sox coming off that series with the Yankees. They did win last night on the big Sunday night game. So we'll see if they can carry that on to today. And then you got the Tampa Bay Rays against the A's. The Rays did win all 3 of their games against the Orioles at home. Didn't look that convincing, but it's just their pitching. Their pitching and their defense just seems to put teams away. The Athletics did still won in Philadelphia. Again, they're not the same lineup, obviously losing Olsen and in that trade to Atlanta. They're not as strong as they were. But going up against Luis Patino pitching for the Rays, this is a chance for them to get a win in Tampa. It might be the only chance they get a win this week, pitching-wise. And then you go to the Phillies versus the Mets. You see, Mets started off 3-1 against Washington in Washington. Phillies started off 2-1. Our Phillies' batting lineup is insane. Schwarber, Realmuto, Harper, Castellanos, Hoskins, Gregorius, Segura, Alec Bohm. okay, they've got Vierling, the new guy in ninth, and sometimes Stott there in eighth. But the first seven, I mean, Jesus, that's going to be a fun team to watch once they get it together. And then you got the Mets. I mean, the Mets seem to have more fight to start the season this year, at least. I like their new coach. He seems to be really passionate about how he wants baseball to be played with them. So Tajon Walker is going to be their pitcher today, and the left-hander Ranger Suarez is the pitcher over at the Phillies. And then we have the New York Yankees against the Rays. I'm not touching that one because I don't know how they're going to come off. Both are 2-1 in their first opening series. The Nationals against the Braves. Braves started 2-2. The Nationals started 1-3. Nationals could have the upset. And then you got the Twins against the Mariners. You got Dylan Bundy, who's coming over from the Angels, first game for the Twins. And you got Chris Flexen for the Mariners. Again, Twins' lineup is pretty deep as far as hitters go. And then you got the Angels against the Marlins and the Giants against the Padres. Padres are 3-1 to start the season, but they didn't look that good in offensively. So today's pick of the day, who I'm going pretty decently heavy on, is the Minnesota Twins. So today's pick of the day, it's Minnesota Twins. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the play-in tournament. Hope you guys have a great Monday.